Step right up, folks, and get a delectable cone of goodness. Cool your taste buds down with unbelievable flavors beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah, cool down. Aren't we in the middle of October?
Hey, don't blast, Dane. This was all your idea.
My idea?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's rich. So it was also my idea to cover the Creepy Peepers van with only pictures of you?
Hey, what are you talking about? You're on the truck, too.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they can see my little tiny sticker on the license plate in the back.
Oh, Jesus. Point is, we need to promote the podcast more.
I thought you said we were doing this to pick up dates.
4 days.
But you said... Whoa, stop the car! Whoa! What was that?
I don't know, but I'm getting out of here.
Hey, whoa, where are you going? Come on. Guess I'll call an Uber. Oh, great. Clowns.
Hey, Creepy Peeps, it's the Creepy Peepers coming to you live from
Bahamas, Nassau, somewhere in the Caribbean. Yeah.
And we are here for quite a special episode because we are reviewing Killer Klowns in today's episode. And I hope you're ready. Dane, if you don't want to waste any time, let's take it away.
Okay, well, so far we've been enjoying this. Really?
What?
You can't freaking go night-night because I'm just going to hit, and then I'm just going to walk away, and you're just going to be like,
What do you mean? I'm not asleep. Just go. See, the people who can't see this are like, what? What is he complaining about?
And cut. Okay, so basically, we were on this cruise trip, same cruise trip we're on now as we're recording, and there's this wonderful guy named Dave down at this sort of piratey sort of bar area playing the piano and I can't say this
Improvisation.
word. I can't say the word improvisation. He was down there playing piano and improvisational comedy, and it's not like two separate. He mixed them together, so he's playing songs while making fun of you. It's terrific. And this is a bar as well, so you can imagine there's a bit of a drunk, rowdy crowd. Smells bad, looks bad. Okay, well, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna grab a seat, and then I see his show. I love it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to get Nigel down here for this. We come back for his second show a few hours later. Sit down. We're having a wonderful time. And then a decaying corpse walks in. Okay. So, and not only there's two of these frickers that are like the same. They look. The one's a little bigger, but the other one's skinnier. And we'll talk about him. He has a name. Yeah, the Nut Tagger. Oh wait, no, the Nut.
No, you're right.
The Nut Tagger.
No, yeah, the Nut Tagger.
Okay, the Nut Tagger. So, so this guy, just to give you a description, think of what would you say? Like,
he looks, actually, I thought about this the minute I saw him.
Yeah?
He looks like Jason Mewes, who recently cut his hair, actually.
Ooh.
Jason Mewes, for those of you who like Jay and Silent Bob, he had the long hair, like in a ponytail.
Yeah.
Like younger guy, but like younger, older. Like he's
I would say late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah,
that's
like
what
he's
I would
probably
go with this guy.
like middle age, but he doesn't look that bad for middle age. So he's like,
right. But he looked really drunk.
Yeah,
and
he was really drunk. He had
really drunk.
Weirdly, he had like a bald spot, like
on the side of his head.
Yeah, like
he's been scratching it like freaking Texas Chainsaw 2.
Yeah.
Well, so he's in there, and so far everything's fine. The show's going on, but here and there, this guy would go, yeah, and then he'd go, yeah, and then and then he'd go, yeah, and
he started swearing. Like,
oh yeah,
really
he started
loud.
swearing loud. He started saying all kinds of terrible crap, and like
nothing offensive, but just like
nothing
too,
too offensive, but like then it would get on the verge, and then too loud. It was like, sit down. Remember when that lady came in and he was just yelling at her? No, sit right here so I can look at your butt.
Yeah.
Sit right here. I knew that's why he was doing that, because it was right in front of him. The seat was right in front of him, so he wanted to look down, freaking look at that.
He said that he impregnated a lady.
Yeah. He pointed at Dave, the piano player comedian, and was like, you impregnated that woman over there twice. And I gotta say, like, I'm kind of glad that he didn't pay no mind. He literally just like looked away, like, because he had a rapport with this guy before he was drunk, kind of. Now that this guy was freaking all over his piano. Oh yeah, okay. So there's like chairs at the piano too. So like, you know, he's sitting there. Then, oh my God, I see him spin around and stare at me.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Nigel are sitting at our own like little like table.
Yep.
He spins around and he's just staring at me with his drunk, bloodshot eyes, and you can tell he's thinking. And he's like, and then here he comes, slowly drunk person gets up, walks on over, sits down, and then immediately right in my face.
Oh.
And he's like, you know what? You're just you can bring my level down. You're cool. And I need that.
Didn't he say like he said like something really weird? I heard him like, because I'm obviously I'm sitting next to you, but he hasn't acknowledged me yet.
Yeah,
which I'm glad. 'Cause I can't deal with creepy peeps. Let me address the microphone for a second. I can't deal with drunk people.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna say this as a warning to any creepy peeps who I might meet in the future. I'm not dogging on you for being drunk. I just personally can't handle drunk, because there's
who knows what you're gonna do.
There's a very small demographic of people who are quote unquote fun drunks, and we all know the type.
Right.
Everyone who thinks they're a fun drunk is not.
Exactly.
Everyone who thinks they're not sometimes is.
And I know I'm not, because sometimes I get that slap happy feeling where you're like, I feel drunk but I'm not, and I'm just like so yeah, I don't think I'm a good drunk, but I don't drink, so that's good.
Yeah. But they're like the only thing I can classify as a genuine fun drunk would be somebody who might like need to loosen up a bit, and then they have a couple drinks and they're like, and you know what, I'm having a great time.
Right.
And like
that's a
it.
fun guy.
That's a fun guy.
That's
but
someone who's like, you know, you just let your guard down, dance a little bit, and then you're fine.
Yeah, that's
Not
a fun
this
guy.
fucking-
This guy's a fungus, okay? Yeah. He's like, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, he came over to you and he's like, look, you're old enough that I know that you know who I am. Like, what did he say?
He's after he was saying all the stuff about like, I think you could comfort me and bring my level down, and I was like, I sure hope so, pal. In my mind. He then tells me, I don't know you well enough to touch your nuts.
Yeah, like not like in a molester way, but like in a he did
very
the thing.
casual.
He waited until like the last 15 minutes of the show, and then he did the thing that you do to like your buddies, where you take the beer bottle and you like hit the beer bottle and you hit the beer bottle. But we weren't drinking beer; we were drinking a Coke and a Sprite.
Yeah.
So he just taps the end of my glass, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Like that's all I say. I just try not to
You're
like
just
acknowledge it.
Yeah, you give him like a thumbs up or something. You're like,
Exactly. That's what I do to everyone on this.
Exactly.
I just give them like a one hand wave or a thumbs up, and that's
Me too. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Sorry, creepy peeps. I said I'd address the microphone, and then I said nothing. But yeah, if you're when I say like, let me address you for a second. If you're drunk and you come up to me and you're not like that, then I will talk to you. It's not that, you know, I'll talk to you regardless, probably, if you're, you know, if you blast me enough. But
right,
like, my point is, I can't deal with like, yeah, how are you watching, kid?
And what's bad is this guy would lean into my ear and then just scream.
Yeah, he'd be like, I'm gonna whisper something to you. What's the deal with airplane?
Exactly. So he says this to me about my nuts, and I'm like, Oh,
that's what I was gonna say. He taps our drinks, and then he's like, "Whatever, dude," and he like does like the motion like he's gonna flick you in the nuts, but he doesn't. He's like, "I'm just kidding. I don't know you well enough to nut tag you," and that's how it starts.
And then he said, when I was a kid, I was in a band called the whatever society. It was like the Nut Tagging Society.
Yeah,
you know it?
It's the Nut Tag Order.
The Nut Tag Order.
And it was like a play on the NWO. He's like, hey, not the New World Order. That's from wrestling. And I'm like, because I'm a retro guy, so I know exactly what he's talking about. The NWO from like WWE. But still, I'm like, what?
And so he's saying this to me, and like, if this is a real band, like, I hope you hear this, because you need to know what you've done.
And the worst part is, here's the thing. Even as kids, when you nut tag your friends, usually...
I didn't even know that was a thing until, like, last night.
It's
when
not
this happened.
really a thing. It's more so a thing that you do when you're, like, 12.
Right, when you don't
like
have nuts.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, ah, and you're like, come on.
Now there's like stuff at stake, you know? You could hit it wrong, freaking never have kids.
I haven't done it in years. Well, that was like when you were 11 or 12, when you're just now getting balls, and you're like, they just dropped. When it's still funny to do that. Now it's not funny.
Yeah, we're literally like, kind of fully grown men.
Yeah.
All in this, and we're trying to enjoy this classy show.
Exactly. This wasn't like some like
right. It wasn't some like, and like this guy, like, he knew how
just
far
out in
to
the
take
open.
it. What?
It was just out in the open too. So it wasn't like
it was out in the hall. It wasn't even in a closed room. It was just on the cruise ship.
It wasn't like at a club where we're freaking like a side.
Right.
No.
We were literally like just lounging, like with drinks and watching this guy perform. And so this is starting to freak me out, you know? I'm starting to sweat real bad. I'm starting to bounce my knee, you know? Yeah. Then he said something. He was like, there's a lot of pretty women on this boat. And first, I said, oh, really? Like that? I meant to say, oh, yeah, like in agreement.
Yeah.
But I accidentally went, oh, really? Like that? Mm-hmm. And then he was like, blah, 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 like gay people. Well, no, he wasn't being rude, but he was like, oh, whatever, like, I can be your wingman for men too. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying, fricker. Well, either way, I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then he, like, gets up and leaves, and I'm like, thank God. Then later, he freaking spins around again, stares, this time with a much scarier, moody-looking face, and I'm like, oh my God, what the frick? Then he turns around, he walks over, he goes, I'm sorry, I'm gonna sit here.
Like,
and I'm like, what? Why are you blasting? And he said, I'm sorry, no homo. And I'm like, what is happening? And then... And then like luckily like I brought it back, and then like he was more friendly, and I tried like wrapping it up, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, but like that nut tag thing, that's serious, okay? You got 4 days with me, and I'm gonna see you, and it's gonna happen. And you know what? You know what's gonna happen to me? Nothing. And that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because this whole time I'm sitting there and I'm like pretending to be his friend. Like literally I'm putting on the best acting chops I got. This is the only time I broke character. Like my face dropped and I like shot these eyes like, oh really? And then I told him something like, oh, I'm from wherever, so like I always have my guard up. And he's like, no, forget that. No, that doesn't even matter. Like, no. And I'm like, dude, if you vomit in my mouth, I swear to God.
If you vomit, what does that have to do?
Well, you know, he's drunk, he's going, no. You know, there's too much movement, something could come up, you know? You never know.
No.
Exactly. Then I would have lost it. Oh, and he dropped his drink.
Oh,
the
yeah,
ice went everywhere.
At one point, this lady was celebrating something. She's like, yes, I won.
Yeah.
And then he's like, sit down. Not like being mean to the lady, but like he's like, sit down anywhere. Sit down anywhere
sit
over
down.
here.
And he was like, right here.
Yeah.
Right here. And I
then the
knew
minute
she
he
could
does
hear
that,
him.
He spills his drink. The minute that any drunk person spills their drink,
Yeah.
that's always
It's
when
all
I
going
like
downhill.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like, oh, look at Nigel over here just tasking drunk people. No, I'm trying to explain myself here. It's not. I'm like, you shouldn't be this drunk. I'm not dogging on people for getting
Right.
drunk. You're on a cruise. Feel free. Be drunk. Woo! Like
Right.
that's the kind of drunk I can deal with.
Right.
Woo! Like
Yeah.
that's good.
Like dance. Just
but
dance.
don't freaking
nut tag
nut
kids
tag,
on your boat.
drunk, spilling your drink everywhere. Sit out anywhere. I was the NWO, NDO, MCO, BLT world champion. Like, what the frick?
Well, yada 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 more, and we wrap it up. He finally gets up. He's like, you know what? I'm going to have myself a fantastic night. You enjoy. And I shake his hand. He shakes your hand.
Wait. But first, he tells you, he's like, hey, your buddy here, I'm going to shake his hand.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a part of it too. Because this whole time I'm like, oh, look
Yeah.
at Dane.
He's like,
he's
he told
trapped in
me,
this thing.
once you shake my hand, it's a signed deal of like the nut tagging thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm trying to be friendly, fricker.
And
like,
you know what? I hear him tell you. I hear him tell you. Another. He's like, your buddy here is guilty by association. At first, I'm like, I didn't
Oh
agree
yeah,
to that.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
At
he's
that
like-
point, I was tuning out. Like I was like, what is he talking? What do you mean you're guilty by association?
Yeah, I'm guilty by association because I know you, but apparently, because he doesn't know if we're like actually friends or if we just met here.
Right.
So if he's gonna try to pull that on me, like, yeah. But anyway, so he's like, I hear him say, he's like, I'm gonna shake your buddy's hand, and he's gonna have no idea what it means, but he just like he's in
just
on it.
signed the waiver.
And even though I heard him say that, I'm not gonna not shake it because again, I don't deal with drunk
Right,
people. I don't want this
exactly.
guy
If
to
you
like
don't
throw a
shake-
glass at my
exactly.
head and freaking kill me in front of this piano guy.
Because this guy, I feel like he would. He
Absolutely.
he gave off that vibe.
He
And
would turn. Drunk
probably
people turn.
They turn, and you know what? He probably did because after he left to go have himself a fantastic night, we then saw him being escorted by a security officer.
Yep.
And we've never seen him since.
Yep. We
We
have
spent
not
an entire
seen him
day.
on this boat since.
Day 2 out of 4
Because we were
5.
nervous. Not only were
Yeah.
we nervous, but we got back and we were angry. We were like venting
We
about
were
this
angry.
guy.
We
I
were,
woke
like,
up. I
shaking.
went to sleep angry and woke up angry because of this guy.
Yes.
I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's like when you have something
It was scary.
something bad happen to you, and then you're like, wow, that was terrible, but at least I'm gonna sleep it off. Then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, what a beautiful day. And then all of a sudden you're like, ah! And you're like, you remember what the bad thing was. Like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, it's not like I know it's not a problem until this guy nut taps me. But see, that's not a thing you should do. Don't threaten anyone.
And it shouldn't have to come to nut tapping on my cruise.
Yeah,
You know?
like-
it shouldn't. This shouldn't be the way it is.
I would honestly have rather say, like, I'm going to give you a titty twister. Like, can I be honest? I would rather a titty twister than a nut tap.
Oh,
because
definitely.
even if you purple my nurple, I'm like, okay. Well,
It's
like,
just my
whatever.
nurple.
Yeah.
Right.
least
I mean,
my
that's
nurple
my.
is purple.
You know, like that's nuts.
Yeah.
Like that's
I
a
don't-
way for a reason.
And I don't know what kind of
That's
move he's going to
gross.
pull. He might pull one of them off, for all I know.
Exactly. You have no idea. He pulls out a knife, shanks you. You don't
Anyway.
know. There's just Jeff the Killer looking guy.
This was supposed to be a cold open, but this became like a full story. But you know what,
You
Peepers?
can still put it in.
I think. Oh, of course, I'm still gonna
Yeah.
put it in. But Peepers, I think you appreciate that because this is a good story. We had some good laughs on this. That's the end of the episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're still gonna review Killer Klowns, but we just want to tell you that story because we're still angry about this.
Yeah.
So
And we're still kind of scared, even though we haven't seen him yet.
absolutely. But stay tuned because now it's time for our Killer Klowns review.
And if you don't hear from us, you know what happened.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got tagged by the nut tagger.
Hey, creepy peeps!
Welcome to this episode of the Creepy Peepers podcast, where today we are talking about Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This movie was created by the Chiodo Brothers, who you might know from special effects works as this movie, and I only found this out recently, completely unrelated to the movie today, but just in general. I was scrolling through TikTok once again, little hidden Easter egg that I found out from TikTok. They provided 2, if not more, of the Killer Klowns creature masks for the monsters in Ernest Scared Stupid. And this is true.
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
know which ones you're talking about.
And if you notice, you don't even have to look that hard. If you know them, if you know both movies pretty well, you'll be able to pick them out pretty easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, all that aside, yep, this movie was made by the Chiodo Brothers, and it's a movie, just to give you a full synopsis, but not spoiling too much, because honestly, I really would like our Peeper fans to go and see this.
Yeah.
If you like kitsch, if you like comedy, if you like comedy horror, you'll like this. Because it is scary. This is like the perfect blend of comedy and horror.
But it doesn't get super, super scary till, like, maybe, like, halfway through, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When, like, clowns actually start, like, doing, like, you see what they do to people and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the comedy in this movie is on point.
Like, if you have a
love it.
10-year-old who wants to get into horror, show them this movie as, like, an intro. This is, like, the perfect... Because it's PG-13. There's one swear. There's one F, because, you know, it's PG-13. But
Yeah.
But, yeah, this would be the perfect movie, because it gets just scary enough, and then it goes back to, like, funny, kitschy, corny.
Right.
But it's also not too funny, kitschy, corny, where it's like every other 80s movie, like... Hey, what's the hurry? Well, hurry's my middle name. All right, you know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have, like, the stupid jokes, which aren't bad if you're watching, like, an actual comedy, but, you know.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know why I couldn't think of a better... Hurry's my middle name. Anyway. But, yeah, so basically, this is a movie about these 2 teenagers. They're up at, you know, Lookout Point and whatever, and they see a shooting star hit the ground. And they're like, what? And then they go check it out, and it's a big top circus. Like, it's a circus tent. And they're like, what? Why are there? But first, there's an
old man and his dog.
Yeah.
And he goes finds it first, and he's like, what in tarnation?
Yeah.
And then the dog's like, bark, and it's gone, and he's like, you took my dog! And then he touches it, and he goes, I got electrocuted, this thing's wired!
Yep.
And then a clown shows up behind him, and turns him into...
Cotton candy, which is
Ooh.
their big, like, thing to get around, like, having to just...
Right.
So anyway...
If you didn't see that, folks, Nigel was stabbing me.
Yeah, that was the psycho bit, for those of you who don't know. But anyway, yeah, so that's basically, that's how the intro of the movie goes. Then you've got these 2 crazy characters who are in the ice cream truck, like, you said, ah! And they start fighting.
They're the comedic duo.
Yeah, and honestly, good comic relief. I don't
Yeah.
mind this type of... Some movies these days, they try to make everyone the comic relief.
Yeah.
They'll be like, this guy's so serious. And then it'll be like him, like, playing with the rubber chicken later, and it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, these characters work. I think, to be honest, in fact, at first I was kind of skeptical. I saw the actual main character, and I'm like, what? Because he had a few too many lines that were like, I know what to do.
And they go on this excursion because he's like trying to like hit him and this girl on this date. And he's super cringe. he does very cringy things in the very beginning. He's like, come on, let's go on an adventure. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. Like he's not charming, and he's really forcing it.
He's kind of like a more like comical Roddy Piper at the beginning of They Live.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, why are you so raring to go? Like, I don't know.
But he comes
around.
Yeah, he comes around once they give him stuff to do in the movie. Then he steps up to the plate.
Yeah, and so that's about it as far as like those 2 main characters. We have a girl who I can't remember who she is. I remember what she looks like, but I can't remember who she's played by. And folks, you know, we're on the cruise, so we have limited resource here. We have the movie, but like we don't have any. You know.
Yeah.
I know, like, why didn't you look at the credits? You know, why don't you shut the frick and go look it up
Why
yourself?
don't you just listen to our podcast?
Exactly.
You know what? You guys have the internet. Look it up yourselves.
Exactly.
Back at home.
And so, unfortunately, we're not able to
Jesus.
see unless we, like, literally go and put in the 30 seconds extra of effort.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Fine. Because I know people are going to write in, like, I do not appreciate the episode of Group Peepers where they dogged on us. All right, so coming back, we've got Suzanne Snyder as the girl. I still don't know what she's in that I've seen her in, but I know it's something.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing that I did forget, but I'm actually glad I went and pulled up the movie really quick so I can see the cast list, is I forgot the farmer who we see at the beginning is Royal Dano.
Royal Dano?
Royal Dano, that's his real name.
That's the name I saw in the credits, and I was like, yeah! We pointed and laughed.
Yep.
Wow, Royal Dano. And
also, I will say, I'll play a segment of it here since we do have, we've got the movie right here. We'll do a watch-along review. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I will play a segment from the credits because this is one of my favorite parts. I've been listening to this nonstop for the past 3 days. Yeah. The Killer Klowns theme is just too good. It's too good.
What a great theme, honestly. What a fantastic theme to give to like a small movie like this.
Absolutely, because if I'm not mistaken, this movie was still relatively indie considering the cult classic it has become.
Right.
And so I can't imagine the budget would have been like, all right, do whatever you... But then again, I'm seeing a lot of movies now, especially with this series that we've now created, that get their own soundtrack. And it's awesome, and it ends up working so well that it becomes like an iconic... Because the soundtrack that you would find this on isn't just the standard soundtrack. They actually like re-released it and like remastered it.
Wow.
And that's what I've been listening to, or the version of it that I've been listening to for the past several days.
Same with like Creepshow.
Same with
Creepshow records I have.
Same with Pee-wee. Same with Beetlegeist. These are iconic soundtracks. I mean, Beetlejuice is a cult classic, but to be honest, I think it was iconic enough then.
Yeah.
Where, like, it's, I'm not saying it doesn't deserve the title. It's just,
It's the top of the cult classic list.
Yeah. Like Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas. No, I'm kidding.
Rocky Horror.
Viva Rock Vegas. I can't believe they thought that was a great one. But yeah, in fact, while we're here, why don't I pull up the Chiodos here so I can get their names right. I immediately noticed Linda Chiodo, who I assume is somebody's either wife and or sister.
Yeah.
Because they share the last name and the spelling. But yeah, the Chiodo Brothers created this, and Mike Tobacco, who was our protagonist who we were speaking about a moment ago, played by Grant Kramer. Dave Hansen, he plays the kind of like good cop at first, but then he becomes like, what? You're dating my ex? But then he kind of goes back to normal. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah.
They don't spend too much time on the bad parts.
Right.
And that's what I like.
We definitely felt a little worried that he was going to start blasting and try and ruin the whole situation by causing more problems. But, they get him back.
Yeah. Then we have John Vernon as Officer Mooney, who is just too funny.
He's probably my MVP of this movie, probably.
And if you've seen anybody who's watching who's seen Trailer Park Boys, he's this movie's Jim Leahy.
Yes.
But he has even Jim Leahy will try to stop the crime. He's like a reverse where he's like, I hate these people so much, I'm not gonna stop the crime,
exactly.
And they can die.
Yeah. He chooses not to believe everyone, even when the whole town is calling the police station, and he's got 4 or 5 phones ringing. I'll put you on hold. Hello, clowns? What? Pff, hello, clowns? No. Pff, hello, clowns? Stop calling me.
Yeah. Hello, clowns? Oh, that's rich because. Yeah. I'm looking at the clown performance. Why don't we just do a crazy credits segment here? Because this is just too good.
Crazy credits segment.
I'm seeing too good of names in here. I'm seeing, Gino Ponza. Dennis Wall. No, I'm just kidding. That's a Genie Houdini. I'm not kidding you.
You're not kidding.
Genie Houdini. And it's spelled Genie Houdini. Charles Chiodo. Jimmy Locust. I'm like, are these actual clowns who signed up to and they're using their clown names? Because this is just too good.
Genie Houdini.
But anyway, all right. All that aside, S. Mae West. What? Okay.
I think every movie credits has those names where you can just be like, yeah. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Your name can't be Bonobo.
Kevin Constant. Like, okay, these are just. I gotta stop.
My bits are constant, folks. Yeah, sure they are, Kevin.
Tawny Capriccio. Okay, I need to stop. Nettie Hefner.
Let's
Tony
get-
Tremblay.
Let's get to the review.
Gimel Everett. Okay, I'm done. Ainsley Colt DeWolf. That's the last one.
That's the last one.
That's
We gotta
the last
stop.
one.
We
I
gotta
gotta-
stop.
I'll get sucked in. I'll watch this whole credits segment. Also, speaking of which, they have a. Oh no, that was Hot Shots.
Oh.
I was going to say the bit where it said if you had gone home by the time these credits started, you'd be home by now. But I realized that was Hot Shots. We were watching Hot Shots yesterday. I know we're getting sidetracked, but
Yeah.
this is what you get when you're watching Creepy Peepers.
Right.
Nevertheless,
Also,
though,
if you hear some heavy reverb, it's because we're on the back deck of
Oh,
our
that's right.
cabin.
yeah, good thing. I should have disclaimed that we're sitting outside right now, but hopefully it won't be too bad. It's not as windy as it was last time.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be bad.
But anyway, yeah, so these clowns are my favorite part of the movie, obviously. Not just because of their designs, which have become iconic in recent years, but just the things that they do as characters. Like, there's a segment where they make a balloon animal that turns into, like, an actual
Yes.
animal. Again, I don't want to spoil it, because I do want you to watch this.
It's really cute, too. It's not even like a mean-looking dog. It's
Exactly.
like an actual balloon dog.
Yeah.
And it's like sniffing around everywhere. It's cute.
Great. And I'll say this too. I know that I we say this a lot on the podcast for our short reviews to go ahead and watch. This is one time where if you are going to go ahead and watch, I believe it's free to watch on either YouTube or Freevee.
Yeah.
Free with ads on both. So yes, definitely, especially since it's close to Halloween, please give that a watch.
Do not buy the crappy Blu-ray with the crappy Killer Klowns cover.
Yeah.
Because that cover does not match the movie at all.
Yeah, it's like a steampunk with like a font.
With grain, and it's all like one like sepia tone color.
Yeah.
It's like, do not try and make my Killer Klowns movie out to be like some 2010s horror rated R movie. This is the PG-13 80s classic. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Please stop doing that.
And I remember I showed this art to Dane, and I was like, what? Because even growing up, even before I had seen the movie, I had always seen it as the one where it's just the clown's face, like in the middle of like a
The
galaxy
screen.
background,
Yeah.
with the Killer Klowns title above him, and that's it.
Or the one where they've got the clown spinning the planet Earth, like the
Yeah.
basketball in his finger.
And there's
Yeah.
one more. There's one more, but I think this one's like a specialty cover. It's theoretically like some sort of like, it's like a big round clown head, and it's just half the head, like full smile.
Oh yes, and then
Yeah.
the other half is the Earth.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that one too.
Yeah. So we'll put this all in the video version. Don't worry, you're not gonna miss too much.
Yeah.
But we'll put all these covers in the video version. But yeah, this is just too good. So the clowns get so many great bits, and it's another great movie that I love so much, because even though this was my first time watching, I'm such a sucker for practical effects, which this movie is full of.
This movie's full of not only good practical effects, but also good optical, like, early 80s, not CGI, but like...
Well, like kind of.
kind
I don't
of
know how
like
they do
early basis CGI. It's
I don't know how they do that.
It's
that
cartoon.
shadow effect. Oh, they just animate.
It's like Roger Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
So like all the lasers and electric stuff that you see, it's like animated on top.
Wow, yeah, I didn't know that, because they did a bit like that in Elvira, which I watched the day after I watched, the day before I watched Killer Klowns, I watched Elvira, and Elvira in that has a scene where they also do a shadow effect. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, they're really good at this. Like,
Yeah, there's a great shadow puppet scene in the film
oh, it's perfect.
that we won't spoil.
Yeah, don't
'cause
spoil
so
it, but
good.
it's too good. Go ahead and watch that one. But all that aside, just to dive in the movie head first.
like I'm about to right now.
No.
There's a giant ocean right over to the side of me.
Yeah. The Ocean Dane, take me by the hand.
He's in a lot of pain.
Yeah, so just to dive in the movie, so we've got again great practical effects, but also one thing that I'll give the movie just that I noticed right out the gate, it just dives right in.
Yes.
There's no, oh, this is Billy, he's 15, like whatever.
There's no big like first half of the movie where nothing is happening.
Yeah.
It immediately goes in.
And I really like that, but I also just love that so much is going on, and they don't just stop the action. They're not like, all right, here's a big effect here. All right, we'll see you later. And then like 45 minutes later, here's something else.
They do cut back and forth to stuff, but there's always something happening back and forth. So it's not like they cut from the action. You're like, oh, now we have to watch whatever's going on here, like Star Wars will do sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, there's always something funny. It's like, oh, let's cut back to the store. Now let's cut back to the station. Now let's cut back to this. It's great.
I will say, though, this town, you'll notice, is a hard town to please.
Yeah.
These clowns come down, and, like, half the town is just immediately like, what? What are they doing? And then they fall into the trap and whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, even the two chuckleheads who are like, you said it. These two, like, dumb idiots who run an ice cream truck are like, these clowns aren't funny. And I'm like, what? Like, they're like, why aren't they funny? And I'm like, these clowns are fun. Like, I'm laughing.
Yeah, like, just look at them.
And that's a good one, too. That's a good one, too. I'm glad they made the clowns funny. They weren't like... Well, okay, there's one scene. There's one scene where I'm like, all right, what? And it's the scene where they're destroying the gas station.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's kind of funny to watch the doctor like... Like, but at the same time, I'm like, why are they doing it? Because no other bit like this happens in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of 80s movies fall into this trap where it's like, oh, it's like Gremlins where they got to destroy the whole thing and somebody's got to react to all the chaos and mess they cause. But it's like, all right, whatever.
And it's like, look at the funny things that they're doing that no normal American would do.
Yeah, it's like, wow, great.
They do that bit where the clowns are in the gas station and they, like, knock off all the stuff on the shelf.
For no reason other than to just...
do it. And there's the whole time, the cashier guy, and this happens, like, for a long time.
Yeah.
He stands there and just like, while pointing at them, and he's just standing there, and he lets his entire store get destroyed before he calls the cops.
And before you get a little too excited, you're like, oh, but they spare his life, right? Because you let him. No, he just ends up dying anyway. So there's no payoff either.
Yeah.
Like, because I honestly would have genuinely probably have let this bit slide if at the end they just walked out, like, just so casually as if nothing ever happened.
And he was still pointing and following. You know?
Exactly. But instead, he calls the police finally, and he's like, wait. And he's like, what? And then he's like, all right, I'm back. What are you saying? And then by that time, he's dead, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's probably one of the only moments where I was like, well, okay. Other than that, though, it's really good. I think the characters have really good chemistry with each other.
Oh, yeah. Especially, like, towards the end, you really start to feel the team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a lot of good weaponry in this, too, like the iconic cotton candy gun.
Yes.
Which you can buy now as a prop on, like, Amazon for, like, $20.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
like, it's
awesome.
not even like specialty, limited release. Like, no, it's, like, just legitimate merchandise. There's that. There's, of course, without spoiling it, all I'm going to say at one point is that there's cotton candy cocoons.
Yeah.
You know, that's another probably
cool.
scary moment that might be a little much if you have little kids, but if they can handle it, they can handle it.
Right.
It's not too bad. It's a little but it's not.
It's
too
messed
bad.
up.
Yeah, it's messed up, but it's not
more
like,
of the thought of it than the actual visual.
Yeah, there's not like gore involved.
Right.
The design of the clowns is really good. They look just clowny enough where it's like, is this a mascot character or is this a human with makeup?
Right.
Apparently enough that it fools the entire town.
Exactly.
But I do really like their design. I think they did a great job on like making them look. They don't look evil. Like they do, but not really.
They look like creatures stopping by for a snack and having a good time, just like they say they are in the film.
And it's just, they're really satisfying characters to, like, watch do crazy stuff.
Because they're having fun.
Exactly.
They're having fun doing everything that they're doing in the movie.
Yeah, and they may be villains, but in a way, you kind of sort of start like accidentally rooting for them at
Right.
one point. Like you're kind of like, oh, let's see what they're doing. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's this one. You
Yeah.
know, like let's see
You,
what he
you'll have a
does.
favorite.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You'll have a favorite by the end of the movie. My favorite is Slim. Which one is yours?
I can't remember the name, but it's the really big one with like the really far apart eyes.
Is it the fat one?
I think so.
If it's the fat one, then it's Fatso.
Okay, well
Yeah,
then
I
it's
think it's
Fatso.
Yeah, because Shorty's the one with the boxing gloves. Spikes is the one with the spiky hair.
Yeah.
Slim's obviously the skinny, tall one. But yeah, so there you go. I will say, that I know this might seem like a short one, but oh no, it's been 21 minutes. Okay, well,
Oh wait, it's been 7 hours.
fooled me for a second there. But first, some no, I'm just kidding. We don't have Wi-Fi right now, so we can't open any of our fan mail messages. But also, I don't think anyone would have known because we don't have internet.
Right.
Regardless, though, we hope you enjoyed this review. And yeah, once again, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Let's jump into the skull ratings and the MVP LVP.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'll go first, and I'll give this a skull rating. Should I do a skull rating in terms of scariness or enjoyability?
I'd say enjoyability.
Me too, because this is a more enjoyability kind of film.
Yeah.
And I would give this film a 9.
9?
Yeah. I'll give this film a 9. Because this is a great movie. This honestly is. But then I remembered Creepshow. But but no, this is honestly a really great movie. And like Nigel said, if you have a kid who's into horror, show them this. They're really gonna love it.
Because it's
I
silly
was
enough
shown
where you
this
wouldn't.
at the right age by my uncle.
Yeah. It's silly enough where you wouldn't be like, what?
Right.
Yeah,
And
I would.
definitely don't be like, I'm afraid of clowns. I'm not gonna watch this movie. Grow up. Put your big boy pants on, please. Thank you. Anyways.
I would also give this a 9. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is great. The only reason why it loses 1 point for me, honestly, is that one scene with the we don't know, like what? Why are they knocking everything off? That's one thing that I just don't like in any movie. Really, is needless destruction of property.
Yeah.
It just gets old after a while. Like I think some people find it funny, but like some people are like, I just don't find it that funny. Other than that, though, I really like it. I think there's a lot of effort put in. I'm glad that it's become such a cult classic over the years, and especially nowadays. Like, even the fact that we saw that Slim animatronic in Spirit Halloween.
In Spirit Halloween, if you've seen the video, Nigel got a shot of it. There's a Slim animatronic with a popcorn bag.
The minute I saw him there, I was like, this guy's going to end up being my favorite guy in the movie, probably.
Yep. And he was.
But yeah, so there's that. MVP, LVP. Okay, MVP, Slim for me.
Yep.
LVP, the guy who is at the pharmacy desk crying while his store is getting raided. Let's hear yours.
My MVP is going to be that sheriff.
Yeah.
Because all of his scenes are so funny. Because, like for the plot's sake, you're frustrated that he's not believing them. But his performance is so funny. You're like, this guy,
Yeah.
He's so funny.
He's not too mean where you're like, what?
Yeah, he's
Get
not
out.
mean. And when he is super mean, the stuff he says is super funny.
Absolutely.
Like the insults and just the names he calls people. It's like, what?
There's a scene where he's so confident about arresting one of the killer clowns.
Yeah.
And it becomes so funny. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but just that scene, that definitely got me.
Yeah.
And who's your LVP?
Oh, my LVP. I'm gonna go with yours too, the gas station guy, because I can't really think of any other character that would really. Oh, you know what? No. My LVP are the two girls in the ice cream truck at the beginning, the grossest women.
Oh yeah.
With the ice cream, and they're like, "You're gonna take us home right now." And it's like, wait.
Yeah, the two guys in the ice cream truck are trying to court these two overweight women who they then make fat jokes about later. It's just not a great look. And I know it's the 80s and they had to get their little, we don't like whatever, but like the...
And it's not like that was, being fat was the only problem. Like, they've purposefully did their makeup, I think, to look that way, to look, like, unpleasing.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. And speaking of looking unpleasing, the two ice cream truck guys definitely had some sort of a job done.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
their skin was messed up.
And they're let's be real. These are they're playing like
College
young
people.
adults.
They're playing young
But
adult
they
college
made 'em-
goers.
But they're like 30.
Yeah.
And they gave them like acne makeup, and it's like what?
Yeah.
It's just confusing. But yeah, I could see that though. Anyway, all that aside, we hope you enjoyed this Creepy Peepers, Creepy Cruise, Creepy Crossover review, and we will see you next time. We got a couple more episodes coming out, so be on the lookout.
See ya, folks. Little Shop of Horrors is about a young whippersnapper named Rick Moranis. No, Seymour. And Seymour is this guy. Jesus Christ, I can't.
This has been a Just a Guy Network audio production.